opportunity to build relationships globally. From wherever in the world you are is just, it's always a pleasure. So Carlos had asked me to speak a little bit about the recent National Retail Federation conference in New York. Has anyone else attended or is interested in attending?
I have many years ago, but not this year.
Not this year. Great. So I'm a bit of a salesperson for it because the value of it is so interesting to me. And when I discovered what it was or what it could do about 4 years ago, it was really very eye-opening. And I think for many years, I think it's been going on for several decades. I'm going to move out of the sun. For I would say the last 10, it had a bit of a reputation for being, and it was very IT driven, only for people who were in IT or looking for specific solutions for their e-commerce or retail businesses. And what I discovered was actually it's much bigger than that, and that it has truly evolved into what I think is probably the most important global conference as it relates to just commerce. And while I'm going to give you some statistics in a minute, but the idea here is that we only get limited number of opportunities in our careers to have all the decision makers or the right people in the right room at the right time. And NRF for me has become one of those places. So not only does it provide an opportunity to network and attend numerous events, you really get the chance to then speak to startup businesses from all over the world, businesses that are very established, like IBMs and Microsofts of the world. So at all scales, meeting all different levels of people, and the power of that, I think, just can't be understated. The other piece that may not be as interesting to this group, but is very interested to me as someone that has worked my entire career in stores, is they also have a foundation. And the foundation supports about 100 or so different universities in the US. And they bring in about 1,200 students from around the country that are all studying retail. And so these students also then have the opportunity to engage with executives and potential mentors and understand how the business operates. And for me personally, to be on stage in front of those 1,200 students was really a joy, because they are really they're the future of our industry all over the world. So that's kind of the first 3 days of the conference. Then the latter part jumps into the kind of the main event. But I want to just share a couple of statistics to understand its scale, and it's also its international presence. So these are statistics from this year: 39,500 attendees, 19,000 retail professionals, about 5,000 brands. Here's what's interesting: about 70% of those people were from the US, but 30% of them were from international addresses. And in those included, I know there was a large delegation from Brazil, Canada, the UK, France, Mexico, China, Germany, Italy, Israel. And so it's very international, and it's great to understand different countries' point of view when it comes to commerce. As 86 of the NRF top 100 retail companies were represented there. And then here's the part that I think has evolved, as I mentioned, is the range of responsibilities of people that attend. So yes, there's a large like IT, MIS delegation. So it's the largest population of people, which is 19%. But then it goes into 17% of the attendees were of executive management, 15 in business development, 8 in marketing and sales, 7 in corporate ops and strategy, and it kind of goes down from there around e-commerce and consulting services, customer experience, supply chain, and so on. So it is very tech heavy, yet that's not the only purpose of the event. And the levels of people that attend, the largest group, which is 26%, director and senior director, and then manager level, and then very heavy in CEO, president, owner, other C-suite senior executives. So you have this interesting mix of high-level executives, brands at all levels, from very startup to the biggest brands in the world. Lots of speaking sessions and the ability to just meet large groups of people. So I know it sounds like a sales pitch, which it's certainly not. I have no affiliation with it. I just continue to find ways to engage with audiences that have a level of influence that helps all of us. Helps in the decision-making process. It helps with feedback on whatever project you're working on. It helps with potential funding opportunities, because that certainly exists in these conversations. And it's just a chance to meet people that you may not normally meet. So Carlos, if that's helpful, I'm happy to answer questions too.
I think that's super helpful. If you all have questions, maybe we should organize like some raised hands or things like that, so we don't cross over each other. But what I'm interested, Ron, is like in regards to the conversations that you and talks really. What are your impressions? Because we are all hearing about AI, and you're in recruiting. Like, what was going on? I saw like some recaps, and so what happened there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any part of our business, no matter what business all of us on this call are in, that isn't impacted by AI. So it is the point of the infusion of that into our businesses is how do we use it in the most productive way, in the most efficient way, in the way that benefits business, simplifies tasks, whatever it is that works for you. So it's certainly woven into every chat. I think, every brand is thinking differently about budgets and costs this year. And so where does AI play a role in that? Where could that potentially reduce certain lines on the budget? Where do we need to add? But where does that addition create savings? So that's an important conversation right now. But yes, it's everywhere, and it's not something that can be ignored. I had referenced IBM because IBM is one of those companies that has such global brand awareness and has been in business for so long, and I think has kind of sits often on the sidelines as the kind of quiet giant a little bit. And so I had the opportunity to sit and go through all of their current AI capabilities and what IBM is doing in the marketplace, and every part. For me, it was retail specifically, and to learn and to have that chance to get those demos in person that you wouldn't normally have. So it's interesting to learn from very small companies that have very interesting AI capabilities to the biggest ones in the world.
Jamie, you're well familiar with IBM, are you not?
Yeah, yes, I'm well connected with IBM, but that was the start of my career. I haven't, yeah, for everyone in the audience, I worked with IBM for 17 and a half years at the beginning of my career across different divisions. And the major part of that was in the software division. So the division you're talking about, Ron, which is predominantly going to be research and development and software, is the division that will be at the forefront of it. And I know a lot of the distinguished engineers and those guys in that space. And that they have a luxury. People like IBM and Microsoft and Google, they have a luxury of a large investment pool around R&D. So generally, they're, I remember, they generally bring out things a lot earlier than we ever see in the market. I remember about 2 years before I left IBM, because I left IBM in 2010, 2011. And we were doing early innovations with AI, with Watson, with the early Watson technology, specifically in ecom. And before they sold their ecom portfolio, which now HCL obviously own and run, they actually built a complete console, which was based around MarTech on the front of WebSphere Commons. And I had the great privilege of being one of the specialists in the field, playing with it. And it was all around that, looking at behavioral analytics, turning that behavioral analytics into true AI recommendations that would allow you to dynamically change the site. And of course, people weren't adopting it because it was too expensive and it was too forward thinking. But now we're at a point that technology's evolved where people are starting to now, we're now actually really adopting it. But it's fascinating to be in those companies when they're doing that so early, because they're usually 10, 15 years ahead internally than everyone else. That's fascinating what you're saying.
Yeah, I agree.
Hadar, Hadar raised his hand. Go ahead, Hadar.
I don't think I did I? How did I raise my hand?
There was a hand raised. So,
Was there? I don't know.
yeah, I see.
I don't think I did.
Are you raising your hand, Juliana? Let me just see.
I do, guys. I had a question for Jamie, maybe, because I'm a bit curious about when you talk about IBM WebSphere, just remind me like the past. Do they still have a solution for e-commerce right now? I mean, or they're just like totally out of the picture, right? I mean,
No,
SAP has Ibris, Salesforce Demand Aware,
they're
Magento
totally
with Adobe.
Yeah, IBM's totally out of that picture. They sold the complete division that had WebSphere Commerce in it then. Well, it must be easily, about 7, 8 years ago. They sold it to HCL.
Okay.
And HCL have turned it into HCL Commerce, and they've made it more API centric and more SaaS based. But they didn't just sell the product; they 2P'd the whole business.
Okay.
So the whole, and it was basically the Lotus business plus portal and WebSphere Commerce and those things. The application server and the core middleware pieces stayed with IBM. So the backbone pieces stayed, but their direction changed. They moved down. A bit like a lot of the other players, a bit like the Oracles and the SAPs and that of the world. They bought into it. They're still playing there, but it isn't their biggest market share place.
For sure.
They're trying to reinvigorate it. I think Salesforce are doing a better job than most of trying to reinvigorate what they originally bought. But the other bigger dinosaurs are still struggling to get out of where they were.
For sure. Interesting. Thank you, Jamie.
No worries.
All right. Any more questions? Please feel free to shoot them. No questions? You guys too shy? All right. So, yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I'll just an arbitrary question because other people joined late. I know there's a few of us on the call who are open to work and looking for things. So if others in the community are actively working or building businesses or looking at investment, please give us a shout. I've been out on the market now since the beginning of November and actively looking for a new challenge and something more interesting, whether that be contracting or whether that's a permanent role. And obviously we could talk offline about it if you've got anything interesting that might be there.
Awesome. Yeah.
Sorry, maybe you can explain a little bit about your skill set. That'll help.
Yeah. So my skill set is you'll need an hour and a half. It is quite diverse. My heritage being ex-IBM, I was trained and built as a technician. So I started my career as a developer way back in the day. But there isn't much in the delivery side of IT, and especially in e-com, I haven't done, from development right through to enterprise architecture, project management, system business analysis, all that sort of stuff. So all the delivery pieces. I've run professional services divisions. I've built professional services divisions for places like Cognizant in the UK. I've run and built partnership divisions for Elastic Path and helped them to build their partnership division. Worked in customer service, customer success for a year or so while I was transitioning. So I've got a whole diverse set of skills.
But in terms of management, right? Not hands-on, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, hands-on. So I was a hands-on. By the time I graduated, I did a very specialist degree. I actually did my degree with IBM. So by the time I graduated, I was an expert in 12 different programming languages: C, C++, COBOL, PL1. So I'm a very accomplished programmer before I actually moved away from doing the hands-on coalface thing was a highly skilled solution architect, built solutions for Boots, JD Sports, worked with people like I'm trying to think of some of the more international brands, people like Coca-Cola and others, in IBM and outside. And I've elected to move more in that executive career. So I've moved away from being very heavily hands-on, but most of the teams I've ever run, generally I end up with architects reporting to me at some point because I seem to be able to discuss the bridges between technology and business and the evolutions of it.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Thank you all. How about we move into the breakout rooms and run? I really need a hand here. Let me just see.
So
What are we
yeah,
gonna do there? What are we doing in the breakout rooms?
We're creating mini rooms to get to know each other a little better. So then then we can network and build relationships, and then you can say what you're looking for and how we can support each other. Yeah.
so
James.
Carlos, on your bar down there, you should have something on breakout rooms. I think only the host of the meeting can see.
Yeah,
And then
Ron, I transferred the host to you.
you did.
Yeah, I
okay,
did.
let me find it. My board notes more. Let's see if we can do this. Huh. Here we are, breakout rooms. Okay. Carlos, how many people would you like in each room?
We are, let me see. Maths has never been my
Okay.